Hello, my name is Matt. Welcome to Unbearable 73. One of the showrunners for Amazoff Rings of Prime recently made some comments that demonstrate the following. Sometimes a person can hold two things to be true, or even three or four things, and not understand that they accept that they conflict. The reason was nothing, and I mean nothing, not even truth, whether that be the truth, or the truth is a form of knowledge, or the truth is a belief, nothing exists out of context. In this essay, I'll be providing the context which allowed the showrunners for Amazoff Rings of Prime to claim that they know, respect, and enjoy Tolkien's work, but yet they still do this disrespectful show, and their comments and what they're doing to it don't conflict with no respect and loving Tolkien's actual work. It's not, and I'm not going to go belabor with some long philosophical point. I'm going to talk about a couple things in the article and get right to it. So, an article on screen, which I've linked to below, which is a bit of mislead with the title, comments from various people who are working on Rings of Prime, including the showrunner, both behind and in front of the camera, are referenced, and counters for those comments are made by others are brought up. I would recommend reading our entire article for that. I'm providing my thoughts on those comments and the thoughts behind them, and then a brief general conclusion. So, first, the article opens by saying that Patrick McKay, one of the showrunners, recently addressed fan concerns that the show will embrace modern woke politics in favor of Tolkien's actual writings. Regardless of what he said, which is not even referenced in the article, his work on the show is clearly influenced by his perceptions of how things should be if those events had occurred in the setting. Meaning, Tolkien wrote a particular setting in the way things laid out, and a setting which is not the modern world and whatnot. But McKay beliefs or his require that he reinterpret those to fit his modern context of how things should be. For example, in canon, Tolkien never depicted Galadriel going to Numenor. Now, having her visit our distant cousins at some point in the 3,400 years before Eru sunk it, especially considering Galadriel remained in Middle-earth in the Second Age, in part because she wanted to explore it, that could make some sense if they did that. Right? But instead of going with that, they have Galadriel become some sort of warrior, maiden, and political ambassador. That depiction is a woke conception of the character. Gil-galad was the High King of the Elves the entirety of the Second Age until his death at the end. Elrond was his herald. Elrond was the one to send on the political missions. Now, this is not to say Galadriel wasn't politically active or anything. She was one of the ruling nobility of the elves. Okay, she had duties and whatnot that she performed in Lindon and other areas. And then she at one point her husband, who Celeborn, who appears to be dead in this show or not existent, she was his co-ruler, so to speak, for the Sindarin elves that he ruled over. So, anyway, so Elrond will be sent to the political mission. Galadriel might accompany him because she wants to explore and see it. That could be within the context of what Tolkien actually wrote, how Galadriel might go to Numenor. And then she gets caught up in events. Now, it may seem like I'm nitpicking here, but the point is, the notion that they're not portraying Galadriel not in how Tolkien wrote her and how the elves of her kind would behave and how people behave in the setting, but in the modern woke reinterpretation of it, that's the issue, okay? So let's, one more thing. Now, furthermore, we see in trailers, pictures, and stuff to show us black elves, dwarves, and Harfeet. This story, per Tolkien's own words and writings, is supposed to take place in northwestern Europe, either around 6,000 or around 20,000 years ago. That's a whole other debate as to whether 6 or 20,000 is not the context, but there's some very specific reasons for those timings, okay? There were no non-Caucasian people there at the time. The archaeology alone shows that. You know where the black people were? In Africa. Instead of woke reinterpreting the peoples of Europe to have been black and then mysteriously disappeared over the last 6,000 years, invent an African kingdom, have them engage in trade with Numenor, where maybe their ambassador is the main character. That will be a creative insertion of actual diversity, a new character, but compliant with Tolkien in the sense that it will exist at the same sort of cultural level. It will maybe sea trade or whatever, and as long as that character didn't do anything a Tolkien written character did, maybe they helped. Maybe they fought in the wars besides the faithful. Maybe they could show as the faithful get driven to shore by the storm that saves them from Numenor. Maybe there's a ship of these new people who are there, who come up and give them some first aid or whatever. That will be compliant with what Tolkien did without being disrespectful, altering, or whatever. Okay, and it would add real diversity with real actual reason for real actual black characters to be there. Next, we see one of the executive producers of the show, Lindsay Weber say, it felt only natural to us that an adaptation of Tolkien's work would reflect what the world actually looks like. And Tolkien is for everyone. His stories are about fictional races doing their best when they lead the isolation of their own cultures to come together. I'm not going to belabor this by nitpicking every comment. This show does not take place in the modern world. It specifically takes place in ancient northwestern Europe, pre-modern history northwestern Europe. Inserting other skin colors not only tokenize the people who have them, but devalues the actual cultural choice from where those people of color come from. And that leads into my main point, and I'm wrapping it up real quick. Whether consciously or just because they grew up and were educated in those political ideologies, McKay and his team and many of the actors clearly have the values and methods of Marxism active in their thoughts. In order for Marxism to be implemented, it requires the subversion, deconstruction, and the replacement of a more successful social system, because Marxism doesn't succeed. Social systems, like anything else, survival of the fittest, and Marxism is the least capable of surviving of any system we've ever come up with. Okay? The works of J.R.R. Tolkien are a work of English culture and have spread to be the most popular creation that humankind's ever done. People of other cultures read them, not because they want to imagine themselves. You could do that because they want to see this work of culture that a man of England wrote about England and explore his ideas. Not insert their own into it. They want to see his ideas. And they want, and those people, same people want, the people in China want us to read Journey to the West, which is very Tolkien-esque in some respects. Or to read many other sort of tales. We probably have heard of the 1001 Arabian Nights, the Tales of Shahrazad. That's a work of Middle Eastern stuff, and we read that and enjoy it. And that the point is, we should be learning about each other's cultures from these cultural works and sharing them together and making productions. And most of us have no problem with an actress of a different ethnicity playing a character. Like, for example, I have no problem with the actress playing Princess Diza. I have a problem with the character Princess Diza. I have a problem with the actress' attitude. Okay, and the problem with the character Princess Diza is not that she existed; it's that she doesn't look like a dwarf, a Tolkien-described dwarf. Okay, the woman, by all accounts, is an excellent actress. Okay, and I have no problem with the best actress playing the role, so long as the character itself is of the way the author depicted it. Okay, and if you're going to veer a lot, then you should say this is an original work derived loosely from, and we're targeting a narrow audience, and it's not for you, which would be me. I'd kind of be okay with that if they wanted it that way. But that's not what they're doing with this. They're saying that this is basically fixing what J.R.R. Tolkien did. Only the Christian Bible and the Quran have been provably more published than the Lord of the Rings by itself alone. Okay, so not counting all the other stuff Tolkien did add into it. So the Marxists have to subvert, deconstruct, and replace it with the Marxist cultural work or Marxist revision of Tolkien's work, as it were. That's why McKay and his fellows in control of this disrespectful production are doing what they're doing and don't seem troubled by it. And I honestly don't think they're even aware they're doing it. They've just been programmed that way. Comment down below if you have any questions for me about this video. Please share your thoughts. Share this video if you enjoyed it. Like if you like it. Dislike if you dislike. Subscribe if you want to hear more from me. My name is Matt. This has been Unbearable 73. Have a nice day, and I am out of here.